Ready to Work, the podcast with success secrets for the young tech professional. Hello, I am Brij Sethi, and this is the Ready to Work podcast.
I was about 3 years of age. I used to run about with my tricycle all over the place. What I'm told by my parents is that my sister used to go to school and her school bus used to come to drop her back. And I used to ride even my tricycle behind that bus. And people used to feel scared. A tricycle behind a bus is not safe or whatever be the reason. And they thought that we should promote Rohit and put him on a two-wheel cycle. They all took on the challenge that we are going to make Rohit learn cycling on a two-wheel cycle, not just a tricycle. The early memories that I have of my childhood are that of my driving experiences. My dad was with the defense. He's a doctor, he's retired now. And I was born in Chandigarh. And there was a brand called Jyoti, and dad bought that cycle. And I learned riding that cycle when I was in nursery itself. It was a kiddie cycle only. But then I also migrated to driving a Luna. If you remember the non-geared vehicle, I was in the second grade when an uncle in the colony, I cleaned up his Luna or something, and he said, "Okay, let me teach you how to ride a Luna." And he took me out for a drive. And migrating from a pedal cycle to a motorized Luna was quite natural for me. And then I came back home and told dad that today I drove a moped, and he was like, "Okay, good." And dad has been pretty sporty that way. He has never stopped me from experimenting or trying different things out. He's been very comfortable with that. So in the fourth grade, I started driving a geared scooter as well. And that's the year when dad bought a second hand, very old 1967 model Fiat. And dad didn't know four-wheel driving. So the pact he took up with me was, Rohit, you clean the cars on the weekends, and you help me stand outside the car and guide when I'm parking and things like that. And in return, you will get to ride the car once every week. And I was like, okay, game on. I was super excited with that. And those days, those cars used to have a bench seat for the driver and the front passenger. Those seats were not adjustable. I mean, my feet hardly reached the pedals. So I had to put four pillows behind me to be able to get to the front. But I did manage that. And dad was fortunately in a campus, so these were private roads and hardly any traffic. So we used to be careful about that. He used to take me to a playground and then help me drive there and things like that. So the reason I'm sharing this particular example is I like driving so much that it's become a passion of mine. And later on, I started driving on highways. When I was 17, I did the Badrinath Kedarnath trip and drove from Delhi to Badrinath, and then we did Manali, Rohtang Pass, and that passion has just not stopped. I mean, in 2015, the last road trip that I did was from Bangalore to Bhutan, and then via the Northeast, we came back to Bangalore. So things like that. What this has actually taught me early on is immense focus. It has taught me immense amount of discipline. I'm not a morning person, but when I'm doing road trips, in those days, I will get up and we are on the road at 6, and we will drive diligently for 12 hours, and by 6 or 7 p.m. we are back in our hotel. So very disciplined approach. It's more like a marathon driving rather than a sprint. In my early days when I was very young, I used to sprint. I used to be a rash driver, but now I call myself a marathon driver. So those kind of things are possible when you are in it for the long haul. That discipline has helped me in various facets of life. I think I have become more persevering and resilient to the difficulties, and be able to keep going on. That is a very important thing I feel in an entrepreneurship journey, that especially as a single founder, when there are not other people around to motivate you, so you have to draw every ounce of energy from within, every ounce of motivation from within, and keep going. whether to do an MBA or not do an MBA had been an ongoing dilemma in my mind since completing my engineering. And all these years, I always felt that instead of going to a business school and doing an MBA, I rather do something on the ground, and that is going to give me a faster kind of learning. That is how the previous two startups that I had run were run. But after running the second startup, I had felt that I perhaps was done with my entrepreneurial journey. I mean, I had felt that there were probably some things missing in me, and perhaps I could not take them to the logical conclusion, so to say. I must have been about 38, 39 at that time. I was working with IBM. I had applied to an exec program at MIT Sloan. That was the only business school that I applied to, and MIT Sloan also, particularly, just to share a little bit of a tidbit with you. My maternal uncle, who I was very close to, used to be a professor of business finance at MIT Sloan. I was 12 years of age when I had first visited him in the US, and he took me around the MIT Sloan campus and corridors, and I knew nothing about MIT Sloan at that time. I was just a kid who was, very fascinated by looking at all those big campuses. My maternal uncle, he passed away in a car accident back in 1994, and that was a very devastating thing for me. Once I gained my consciousness around education and understood what MIT really means, I used to have a feeling that I should probably go to MIT Sloan and study there sometimes. I applied for that MIT program and I got accepted to that program. So I quit my job at IBM and took up that program, completed it. So that whole experience, I think, was a game changer for me. After having tried previous two startups and not been very successful with those, I had started developing a feeling that I've been there, done that. What's more there for me in store? And I've always been a kind of person who challenges myself all the time. I'm not the one who can sit in a comfort zone for very long. Somehow I felt that I'd lost my mojo. The MIT program actually unlocked that. I mean, interacting with a very very vibrant cohort, so many people, couple of CEOs of very very popular startups in India, they were part of the cohort. So it was a very rich cohort and a global cohort that I interacted with. And it was a fast track 9-month program. The interaction with the faculty, those kind of individuals and intellect and the industry insight that they were bringing, I felt completely rejuvenated. And that was just about the time when my ex-wife, she was also working with IBM at that time, and she got an opportunity in Singapore. So I followed her as a trailing spouse, and I felt so confident after that program that I was willing to explore and figure out as to what do I want to do next. Started mentoring at accelerators. I started participating and assisting professors of entrepreneurship in Singapore. I did it completely pro bono, completely selflessly, just to ensure that how can I help others. And along that process, I found that let me focus and enable these entrepreneurs, these technologists, in getting their first paid customer. That selfless giving has given me so much of experience, confidence, and so much of insight that has been a game changing point for me in my life. While evaluating ideas, it was involving a eureka moment for me. Call came and I had to get up and pick up the cordless phone to take that call. And suddenly, at that point in time, I felt when the entire internet and entire telephony, OTT, all of that is getting delivered on the same fiber which is connected to home, then why do we still have this digital clutter in homes with answering machines and cordless phones and phone instruments? Why not just have the single router? And one of my ex bosses who used to work with HP, he was the first to say that, Rohit, if you're going to develop this, this looks very powerful and this looks very promising. So the first thing that I did was to see a proof of technology. So I created a prototype with a Raspberry Pi. After evaluating some 12 or 15 different boards, once I showed the prototype to a few VCs and few potential business owners who would be keen to try something like that. I got support from one fintech startup in Singapore itself, and they said that if you can create this, we'll be happy to give it a shot. First sale happened through Kickstarter. So Kickstarter was an eye-opening kind of an experience. Many people think that you go to a crowdsource funding platform like a Kickstarter, launch a product, and you automatically get a lot of sales. But there is a lot of hard work that has to go in the back of the scenes to make a successful sale happen there. And this stems from the fact that there are so many people are launching their products, so it's a constant effort to keep your product on top of the list. The moment it gets buried on the second page or a third page, then your following stops, and that is why you have to keep it. It's just like a Google search engine. Everybody is targeting trying to be on the first page of the Google search. That requires an enormous amount of time before you launch a project there for funding. We have heard so many stories that this product got launched and it got oversubscribed by so many times. In just 4 days, they reached their target, that they'd set for capital raise. So those kind of marketing stories also have given credence to the pace at which one goes. So when we launched for the first time our product there, 18 days, and we did not hit the target. We had set our targets very aspirationally. We did not foresee all these things. In the early stage startups, the founders have to roll up their sleeves and get into everything. Even if I have to get a small website developed, I have to sit with the developer to convey that story, to convey, how the thing should be, whether it is the UX or UI design. All of that, the founder has to roll up the sleeves and get on the ground with the team, be part of all those developments if you want that kind of a quality and that kind of an alignment to reflect in everything that you're developing. So Kickstarter, that way, once I rolled up my sleeves, we withdrew that project. We had launched in December 2017. We withdrew it, and then we launched it again in January 2018. But this time with increased amount of focus and increased amount of understanding our product. So that is what we did in January 2018. We got our desired targets. We in fact betted by 150%, and that ended up being a positive exercise overall. With Crux Labs, the product that we have created is in a very competitive space. The VoIP technology per se has not gained that kind of popularity with the SME business owners. Typically, these are 50 to 100 employee companies. Business owners typically are influenced by only two things. Ya to you show me how to increase my revenue, then I will buy your product. Or you show me that I can save X amount of cost on a monthly basis, then I will buy your product. That's the commercialization challenge that we have, that we are trying to solve. That is what I want to focus on for the next 1 to 2 years. I really don't know, 3 to 5 year plan as of now. Don't have visibility to that. My journey is still not complete. I'm still learning. So, but one thing that I would certainly like to tell the youngsters today is that is a dialogue from the movie Three Idiots. What character played by Amir Khan said in that movie, कि go after excellence, success झक मार के पीछे आएगी. So go after excellence, success will follow. Whatever you are doing today, pursue your passion. Because when you're pursuing your passion, you will give it your best because it comes naturally to you. And secondly, persevere and see through that idea, believe in yourself, and continue with that. Don't be a blind follower. Get your validation constantly done with your customers, with your investors, with others in the industry ecosystem. Take that partnership approach, but keep going if you really believe in that.
If you like this podcast, do subscribe to our weekly episodes. I'm your host, Brij Sethi, and this is the Ready to Work podcast, the podcast with success secrets for the young tech professional.